Good morning. It's Sunday in the middle of the bank holiday weekend and I'm doing a new walk. Well, not a new walk. Part of it is one I've done many times before. I'm in a local woodland and I'm following an all trails trail that's going to take me on a 6.5 mile walk. It's already been a 1.5 miles to walk here. Around the woodland and some meadows, should be some water along the way. I've already taken a wrong turn, so I'm just finding my way back to the trail. So I thought I'd take you along with me today for a lovely walk. It's really quite muggy and I'm wearing I'm wearing leggings rather than shorts, that's what I'm trying to say, because I didn't know if I'd be brushing past nettles and things, but it's making me feel quite warm. After my walk, I'm going to go home and we're going to talk about some books. I'm going to catch you up on things that I've been reading. I'm not wearing my waterproof trainers or my super duper trainers are both waterproof and, oh no, that's not going to help, I can't go that way. I thought that was going to take me round the mud. Yeah, so I've got super duper waterproof trainers that are really grippy, so I could just walk through this in the super duper waterproof trainers, but they're really hot to wear, so I thought I'd just take a risk with my lighter weight trainers. I may regret this already. I'm going to go back to the trail and take the right turn in the first place and leave this muddy bit. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's get walking. If at any point during this walk you think I'm taking a risk and it looks like I'm really isolated, I don't know if you can see how many people have just walked past me, about 15 in separate groups. It's really busy. It's a really popular walking and dog walking spot, so I'm going to try and make it look peaceful. Hopefully it will be peaceful at points. This is the busiest bit. Since telling you that it was really busy, I haven't seen another soul. Just me, feeling very humid in the middle of the woods. It's beautiful though. I wish Dan had come with me, but he hurt his back setting up for a football thing yesterday, and he's not been very well with his ulcerative colitis either. He needs to get himself back into remission. So I'm on my own, but that's okay. It's nice, it's peaceful. I haven't even got an audiobook in. I often walk by the sides of roads, so I often listen to audiobooks, but because I'm in the woods I can just listen to the birdsong. I'm just going back on myself. I was so busy enjoying the scenery and the sounds of the woods that I walked straight past where I was supposed to go. Is this it here? Oh no. That looks a bit steep. Tree down. Maybe I can get round this way. Might be able to squeeze through here. Woo! Oh. Okay. Right. I think this is where my journey must end. This is like quick mud. I'm going to have to go back the way I came. Well, I'm actually going to have to retrace my steps and I am now caked in mud. There was a fallen tree. Didn't look like it was recent though. So I just went round and squeezed through the undergrowth, but as soon as I was out onto the path, it was almost like a riverbed. and I sank immediately about 6 inches into the mud and had to kind of jump. Oh, people.
Let you go past. No, appreciate that. Oh yes, you will. No, you have to decide. Could you get me treats?
Oh my goodness! Oh, I just had a proper little adventure there. Just as I was chatting to you, I saw some people up ahead. It's the only people I'd seen in over an hour, and I think they were Polish. I think I couldn't really tell by their accents. And I said to them, "Oh, I'm heading back. Do you know how to get down to the road by the stables?" Which is where I knew I was heading. And they walk it every day. So they said, "Oh yeah, they've put a new fence up. They've turned it into like a conservation area. So you're not really supposed to pass through there anymore." So I'm going to put a note on the All Trails website to update it. So there was like a hidden little bit where you could squeeze through the undergrowth, and behind a tree, behind a fence, and like through this little gap. I would never ever have found that in a million years, and I wouldn't have even been brave enough to try. But they knew exactly what they were doing. Is that my goddaughter? No, wrong stables for her, I think. I think she's further up the road. Yeah, so they guided me through, and I'm now back on the trail. So I didn't have to go back on myself at all. Hang on, there's a car coming. However, my trainers are ruined. I hope they're machine washable. So that was really good. And then I came out onto the road, and there's lots of riding schools along here. There's one there, horses. And there was a little school of about 6 or 7 horses coming up, so I stopped to let them go by, and one of them came up to say hello, and I got to stroke the horse's nose. I did have my phone in my hand, but I was just sort of holding it, so I don't know if I got any of it on camera or not. You would have seen it if I did. It's probably upside down footage. So yeah, that was a proper little walking adventure. I enjoyed it. A little bit of jeopardy, a little bit of failure, followed by success of meeting the right people at the right time and getting to meet a horse. Happy days. However, I'm so hot and sweaty with my glasses on my head that they've gone all condensation-y. So I'm going to have to dry them in order to put them on. I also fully intended to film this walk with my GoPro, which is still in my bag, so I hope this footage hasn't been too wibbly-wobbly. Wow. From the extreme highs to the extreme lows. This is the 3rd pair of sunglasses this has happened to in the past 2 weeks. I'm just cleaning them, and they've broken. So I'm now down to no sunglasses. Quite windy along here, so I hope you can hear me alright. I've got my little windy thing on the camera. There's a game of cricket going on there. Lots of people watching. I'm just walking along the side of the River Cray. Very peaceful, very clear little river. And I'm walking up to the meadows that run alongside it. We used to come here as children with jam jars, nets, catch little things and throw them back in again. Many years ago. Do you remember doing that, Jenny? That's my sister. Oh, don't like doing this, walking along a single track road. It's very quiet. I've only been passed by one car and a cyclist. This is all right, isn't it? Really lovely. Oh dear. Can't get any muddier, I suppose. Go through a gate 3 times for the vlog. Well, I did not expect to find mushrooms at this time of year. I have a question. When does a walk become a hike? Is it the distance? Is it the location? Is it the effort? I don't know. Is it the time it takes? Let me know if you know the difference. I might Google it when I get home. I'd say that today feels like a hike. I feel like a walk would be a better description of a sort of little stroll around the park. When does a stroll become a walk? So many questions. So I finally got the GoPro out of my bag and I thought I'd just show you the difference. This is why I should film with my GoPro. The footage is so much smoother. The problem is the microphone is absolutely rubbish. So I need to buy myself a decent lapel mic or something and work out how to use it without it getting in my way or annoying me. So this is the Boardwalk Nature Walk and I love a boardwalk. And I thought I'd take you along the entire route here to finish off the walk and just show you what it looks like. So all along the walk are these wooden sculptures. That is actually a nature habitat, like an insect hotel. And they all represent different wildlife, different creatures that live in these particular woods. Cute little hedgehog there. I actually remember when this boardwalk was built. I've been coming to these woods my whole life. And I remember when they first started putting it together. There's the badger. And here we are at the end of the boardwalk. I think we finish off with a golden crested newt. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called from memory. Right, I'm on my bedroom floor. I'm going to be interrupted. I'm going to catch you up on books. It's about 6:30 in the evening now. You can probably tell by the evening lights as the sun sets outside. It won't be dark for about another 3 hours. And yeah, my legs are aching slightly. I had not intended to walk just over 10 miles, but that's what I ended up doing in about 3.5 hours. My left knee did sort of pop and go a little bit. I've always had problems with my knees, especially my left knee, usually if I'm running, which is why I don't run. It's just too painful. Or if I've been walking for an awful long time. I was only out for 3.5 hours and I did sit down a couple of times, but when I reached mile 10, I thought I'm not going to push it any further. And I was only about a mile up the road, but Dan came and got me. And I was so covered in mud. I'm going to go and look up online if my trainers can be washed in the washing machine, because yeah, it was an absolute mud fest out there, but I loved it. I think that is the best walk I've done this year. I've been walking nearly every day since the 1st of January, and I think that was my absolute favourite walk, because it wasn't like alongside the motorway or a busy road or dual carriageways. I just felt like I was on a proper adventure. So I really loved it. And now we're going to talk about books. And I've got dinner is all sort of sorted and done. All I need to do is pop it in the oven and do some vegetables to go with it. We're having cottage pie, so that's minced beef. And I've done all that. It's all good to go. So I'm very much in the smug club right now, having done a 10-mile walk and prepped dinner already. So I thought I'd treat myself to a sit down and a chat about books. So I wrote a note last time I talked about books properly. I think, let's have a look. Oh, I mentioned okay, so I spoke about books I was reading a few times during April vlogs, but the last time I spoke about it properly was when I sat down with Lilia, my eldest daughter, to have a bit of a book chat. And she was getting rid of, or unhauling, that's a much nicer way to put it, unhauling a load of books, and I kept 4 of her books. And one of them I'm going to talk about now. I just finished All the Lovers in the Night by Miko Kawakami, which was this one, and I had really enjoyed it. And I just started The Girl on the Train. So we're going to start from here. Let's get my story graph up. Okay, so The Girl on the Train. I read this because I think my sister gave it to me actually, but many, many moons ago. It's by Paula Hawkins. Oh, blinking stickers. Paula Hawkins, there you go, The Girl on the Train. I think this was written in the early 2000s or the 90s. It's been on the shelves for a long time, and it's been recommended to me by many, many people, not just my sister, but my sister. Oh, first published in 2015, so there you go, just goes to show how wrong I was. It was published in the mid-10s, so 2015. And we are getting the perspective of 3 different women. Our main character is Rachel. She's the girl on the train. So she catches the same train every day, the same commuter train, and she sees some people from their back gardens. The train railway runs at the end of their gardens, and she watches them. And then one day it says she sees something shocking. And we also get the perspective of Anna and of Megan. So I don't want to give anything away because I don't want to give any spoilers. What I would say is the thing that she sees from the train, I would not say is in any way shocking. It's surprising and unexpected, but it's not shocking. So when we got to that bit, I was a little bit like, oh, okay, that's what she saw. Okay, fine. It was quite nice and dark. Rachel's a fairly unreliable narrator. I think that's the right way to describe it. You're never quite sure, not if she's telling the truth, but if she's remembering correctly. She's an alcoholic and she frequently can't remember things, and in particular she can't remember something very vital to the crime that has happened partway through this book. So it's a bit of a thriller, it's a bit of a mystery, and yeah, it's very interesting how all the characters in this book are interconnected, and I really didn't know where it was going. However, I did pick out who the person responsible for the crime was very early on. And I don't know if that's because I've been reading and listening to this kind of book more and more over the past year, so I've just sort of got a little bit of a radar for the clues to look out for, or I'm not sure, but I did guess who it was going to be very early on. It was quite nice to be proved right at the end, so I enjoyed it. I had a good time reading it, and I gave it 3.5 stars, which I know seems quite low, and it's still sitting with me. I may up it, I'm not sure, but at the time, a couple of days after finishing it, 3.5 stars sounded about right. I'm really glad I read it, and I'm going to pass it on. The last time I spoke to you about audiobooks, I think I was listening to the fourth. Hang on a minute. No. I can't remember where I was up to in the 6 Tudor Queens series by Alison Weir. I've now completed the entire series, however, so I had listened to, I know I was listening to Anne Boleyn during April vlogs, and I think I'd started Jane Seymour. I've since listened to Anna of Clefa, which is the Queen of Secrets, and most recently Catherine Howard. No, that's not true. That's not the most recently. The most recent was Catherine Parr, the 6th wife. I have absolutely loved and adored all 6 of these books. It's opened up a whole new interest for me in that part of history. I absolutely loved them. I've given them all 5 stars except for the last one, which I haven't rated yet, but I think it's going to get a 4 or a 4.5 from me, just because I felt I was pulled out of the story just occasionally by some of the dialogue. Some of the language used was very, very modern. Maybe it's not modern, maybe I'm not aware that they use phrases like "don't go there" in Tudor times. So that's the only reason it lost sort of half a star. But I loved it, and I will listen or read lots more by Alison Weir. I really enjoyed it. So my next eyeball read after I finished The Girl on the Train was one of the 4 books that I took from Lilia's Unhaul, which was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Now the reason I read this is because I think this is one of the most recommended books that I get from viewers to try and read, is Where the Crawdads Sing. It's never appealed to me. So I've never picked it up, but we found this at a charity bookstall at last year's village fair. Lilia bought it for about 20p. She's never read it. And I thought, well, we've got a copy, I'm going to give it a go. I really, really enjoyed this. But the descriptions of... So for the first 10 to 20 pages, I thought it was the worst book I'd ever read, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep reading it. And that's because there's a lot of accents, and I'm not good with written accents in books. It's better for me if I'm listening to them. But I kind of got used to that, and I found I could still understand it okay. And also it was just overtaken by the absolutely amazing descriptions of the nature and the wildlife that exist in the marsh where the main character Kaya lives. And her story, she basically ends up abandoned as a very young child. Her entire family, one by one, leave her until she becomes alone in the marsh. So we're told the story mainly from Kaya's point of view. It's not written in the first person, but we are mainly getting Kaya's perspective, but we do occasionally get the thoughts and views of other characters in this. And it starts in the 1950s with how she ends up being abandoned and growing up basically alone on the marsh. And we've also got a story that's happening sometime in the future, about 15 or so years in the future, where there has been a murder and the local police are investigating it. So that story's going on, and at the same time we're getting Kaya's life up until that point, until the 2 stories kind of come together and we really have to work out what we think has happened. Kaya gets accused of the murder. I don't think that's a spoiler, I think it's on the back. Yeah. Chase Andrews is found dead. The locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark. So yeah, it's on the back, it's in the blurb. And really you don't know if she's done it or not. And there's a trial which I really enjoyed, and really you're guessing right until the end of the book, which I really enjoyed, and the absolutely brilliant descriptions of the wildlife. Some of the dialogue I found a little bit, what's the best word to describe it? Like a bit staged, a bit like they were like the author was really trying to tell you something, rather than just kind of letting the story speak for itself. And I also know there is a little bit of controversy. I never look at reviews or read about the book until after I've read it, because I don't want it to influence how I feel about it. But when I looked at reviews afterwards, I found out there is a little bit of controversy about the author. But that's kind of changed my feeling about the book slightly. But so I'm not sure where I'm going to put it. Have I rated it already? I don't know if it's interesting what I rate it. It's interesting for me because I like to know where it sits in my mind, but then sometimes I think, do I care what I would give it out of 5? Can I not just let it sit in my brain without rating it? But then I think, I need to rate it. I'm very contrary. I can hear Dan coming. You don't want to see him, he's just got out the shower. Let me pause the video. And don't do anything hilarious, like dancing about naked behind the camera. I can see that's what you want to do.
You can't put that in there. You'll terrify people.
I gave it 4.5 stars just because of how much the story has stayed with me from a nature point of view and how that was written, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So thank you to everyone that recommended that. Then I listened to a book that if the camera's wobbling, it's because Dan's sitting on the other side of the bed and the camera is balanced on this side of the bed. Yes, I from NetGalley, I applied for a couple of audiobooks to listen to. Anyone can do that. You just need to list the places where you review books, and then you can put in a request to read an ebook, or I always request audiobooks because I love listening to audiobooks. So I requested a couple, and I was approved for Reputation by Lex Croucher, which I listened to. And all the way through listening to this, I could almost see the little sort of star bar going up and down, like it would be like 3 and then it would go down to 2.5 and then back up to 3, then up to 4, then almost up to 5 and then back down to 4, because it was just a book full of so many different things. That there was a lot. We're getting it from the perspective of Georgiana. It's set in a time, or I'm not sure when it's set. It's set in a time like Bridgerton time. When's Bridgerton time, Dan? Georgian time. So it's Georgiana. Oh yeah, of course, because he does say at one point, her uncle says, I can't call you George, the king's called George. Yes.
George
so it's set
is also in the first series.
He's in the first series of Bridgerton. Anyway, so it's set in Georgian times in England. Georgiana is not from a high-class, well-to-do family. She's from a fairly ordinary family. Her parents have moved to the seaside. She's living with her aunt and uncle, and then she gets in with this sort of party crowd, and they're absolutely vile. Every single one of those characters is horrible, and I just felt that we spent too much time with those awful characters and their shenanigans and their views. And there was also a really lovely love story going on at the same time between her and another one of the characters, which just felt lovely and very kind of Pride and Prejudice and a bit Bridgerton and really sweet. And I felt there wasn't enough of that, and then there was too much of this kind of horrible bunch of people. And then there was a slight lack of satisfaction later on in the book when people that should have got their comeuppance didn't really, or not in the right way. But on the whole, I enjoyed it. It was very, very, very funny. It was a bit like listening to a story by Jane Austen, if Jane Austen was alive now, and was a bit edgy. It was very, very witty and very funny, and I properly laughed out loud a few times. But I can't rate it because I can't work out in my mind where it's going to sit. I don't think it's going to live on in my memory forever, but I did enjoy it, and I would read more by the author. So I think probably a 4-star at the end of the day, a solid 4-star. So that was Reputation. I'm still working my way through poems by Len Penny. I pick that up every day or two and read 1 or 2 poems, so I'm really enjoying that still. And I am now reading the one that I got for my birthday from Lilia. She bought me this back in April. I'm not very far into it. I'm only 32 pages in, and it is the Dalagut Dream Department Store. The Dream You Ordered is sold out by Mai Lee, translated by Sandy Jewson Lee. Apparently it was a Korean #1 bestseller. Look at that cover, it's so fun. I love it. I'm really enjoying this so far. It feels like a kind of fairy tale. I'm not sure if it was written for children or whether it was written for adults, but at the moment it feels like a fairy tale for adults, like a children's book but not a children's book, and it's a really cute read so far, but I can't really say much after 32 pages. Basically, the Dalagut Dream Department Store is in a world where people go when they're asleep to purchase dreams. So they can walk around, they keep the streets so clean that you can walk around barefoot if you want, because that's how sometimes people turn up. The locals live there as well, but they are just used to people coming in from outside from their dreams. Really weird, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. So that's my current eyeball read. And yesterday, or the day before, I started a new audiobook, which I got on Everand. I subscribe to Everand monthly. It's a audiobooks service, but also has ebooks and other things as well. Although I never use those, so I don't know much about what the selection's like. But the audiobook selection tends to be really good. So I'm now listening to Tidelands by Philippa Gregory. It's #1 in, I think, a trilogy. The Fairmile trilogy, I think. I'm not sure. I wanted to give Philippa Gregory a go because she's one of the other sort of prime authors who writes around the same time as the Alison Weir books. Although this is set in the 1600s, about 100 years after King Henry. And so far, I'm really enjoying the story. The narrator is not great. There's no differentiation in voices or anything like that, but I've kind of got used to the narrator now. It's 15 hours long. I think I'm about 5 or 6 hours in. So yeah, I think I'm going to definitely stick with that. I'm enjoying it so far. I will let you know. And then the only other thing to say is I've had a couple of incoming books, courtesy of Lilia. If you don't know, my eldest daughter Lilia works at Waterstones. So I gave her the money and asked her to use her discount to pick me up pick her up so I could borrow the final 2. Are these the final 2 or is there another one? I'm not sure. Okay, the next 2 and the ones that I haven't read of the Heartstopper books. So we've got volume 4 and volume 5. Lilia, my eldest, and Phoebe, my youngest, and me have all read the Heartstopper series and I absolutely love them. So I'm really looking forward to reading 4 and 5. And I'm going to do that and then hand them over to the girls. Actually, I might see if Phoebe wants to read these because she really enjoyed them, didn't she? He's not listening to me. I think he switched off when I started talking about Reputation. There we go. I think we'll leave it there because otherwise it's going to be a very long vlog, what with a 10-mile walk and rabbiting endlessly about books. So I hope you've enjoyed this sort of very cosy, nice, relaxed day with no demands on my time other than a bit of a walk, a bit of a chat about books and a bit of cooking. I've also parcelled up about 50 orders as well for Etsy, but that's fun. I can do that with my headphones in. And I'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Oh, here's the remnants. I was going to finish the vlog with a lovely film of the finished cottage pie, but this is the finished cottage pie. And here are Lilia's nails, which she's done herself. And they look smashing.
Of course. Smashing.